Hi Leo, welcome to your May 2020 love reading. It's Rena here. So I'm just shuffling right here, and then I think I'll do it a little bit differently. I'll put let's see, take the top cards of each pile. It's nice to get different cards for a change. I mean, obviously I'm exaggerating a little bit, but it seems like I've been getting some similar cards. This reading is intended for single Leos or Leos who are in relationships where it's not working out too well. So they're kind of at a crossroads of can this relationship survive, or is it just completely toast? The heart of the matter is the Five of Wands. So this is combative energy. For people in relationships, this can mean that the relationship has degenerated into kind of like this argumentative or inharmonious situation. And the people may even be kind of competitive with one another. This is a card of competition. But, there are other people's hands here. So there might be other people who are contributing to the lack of harmony in the relationship. So an example of that would be if one or both parties have people in their life, like family members or friends, who are kind of stirring up the pot or interfering, and that has created tension within the relationship. But the bottom line is that if you are in a relationship with somebody and you feel like you're just always bickering, you're always having conflict, then that is a sign that something is desperately wrong, obviously. But sometimes people just assume that this is par for the course, especially fire signs, because I'm a Sagittarian, and I think that fire signs tend to be pretty aggressive themselves, and so they may just think that, oh yeah, this is just part of what's going on in the relationship, and not see that there's a lot of compatibility issues, and definitely with the past position. Oh, and if you're a single Leo, the Five of Wands can be almost like a nice thing, where it's just like you're strutting your stuff, you're meeting people and trying to maybe it still could be like a competitive situation, but not so much in an unpleasant way, simply that you are looking at things from a much more adventurous point of view, and this would be especially true if you're somebody who maybe was married for a long time or involved with somebody for a long time, and you're single for the first time in years. Kind of like, okay, what exactly am I, how do I do this single thing? And it's kind of fun to meet people and then have other types of having that sense that you have to kind of prove yourself, but not, because I tend to be a very confident person, feeling like, hey, here I am, I'm back on the market, kind of a thing. That's how I see it. I don't see it as something bad, but I do see it as very kind of active. In the past position, we have the Lover's card. So I think this is really speaking to people who are already in a relationship, this sense of maybe prematurely getting involved physically in that relationship and then seeing that, wow, we're fighting a lot. That doesn't jibe with a compatible relationship. What do I do? And what happens a lot of times is when you get involved physically too soon, it gives the illusion that you have this bond, and the bond is pretty superficial, and it also can create a situation where there's a lack of respect because the people are using each other for their own selfish reasons. You know, you could say they're not really connected, they're not tuned into that person at a deep level. And really, I really believe that this is a lot of the cause of that type of Five of Wands experience, where once the bloom is off the rose, it's like a lot of negativity. And you might have thought that it was so close. And I've said this many times, that I think that Leos are very sensual people, one of the most sensual signs, and therefore they are prone to get involved in relationships that are more sexual than romantic, even though you are very romantic. As a matter of fact, this is the higher message. You're ruled by the sun. So you have to go by what this card represents. There are those sunflowers. The sun card to me is about nobility. That was the word that kind of came into my mind right when I was going to say something, so I wanted to say it. But it's a card of love, and that's why they have these two people here. But it's a card of children, of prosperity, of success, of joy. It's like all the positive things you can think of in life, healing. And the point being that love will be those things. You know what I mean? The Five of Wands is drama. And that can be, for some people, that you're confusing drama for passion. And you can't do that. It's not the same thing. And I also think with the sun card is you'll know it when you see it. You know, it's not something you can force. And so it's always, to me, about holding out for the best, not like settling for second best. What crosses you is the Two of Swords, so you may feel at a crossroads in your life. Now, this is kind of what I mentioned at the beginning. If you are currently in a relationship, you may feel like, what do I do now? Which direction do I turn? Do I stay with this person even though we're fighting? Because Leo is a fixed sign, there's a tendency to be quite, steadfast. You may see it as loyalty, but a lot of times I think it's just simply dreading the idea of having to change, to make a change. And that can create a lot of tension for you, because you feel like, I want to do something, I want to just stick to something even if it's going through a rough patch. And yes, of course, I mean, sometimes even in the best relationships, there may be times when there is more tension and therefore more bickering and disharmony, inharmony. Well, I always wonder if that's disharmony, inharmony. But in general, I think that you have to look at the bigger picture of whether or not you're having problems on a regular basis. Because in that case, you have to take it seriously. You can't just pretend that everything is okay. What's coming in is represented by the Seven of Pentacles, and this is a card of kind of waiting to see if your investment is going to pay off. And I think too, if you're single and you're looking, if you're dating, I mean, obviously you have to be dating for this to even work. But it's like, being observant about people that you're spending time with and seeing if it's going to amount to anything. If you are already involved with somebody, you may decide to give it a little bit more time simply because you've invested some energy into it and you don't want to totally, you don't want to totally just disregard what this, the time that you've spent with a particular person. You feel that perhaps there's still some good left in that situation. And you tend to be a positive person, so you may see it that way. The outcome is the Hangman, and this is kind of like left in limbo, kind of left hanging in limbo. So this can be, like for single people, this can simply be a period where it seems like nothing is happening. And of course, as I record this, I'm recording this in April, so we're still in kind of that limbo situation in general, and hopefully it won't go on too much in May, if at all. But that might be part of it. But it can simply feel that you're in this in-between period where you're just kind of allowing things to occur as they will. Sometimes I think that fixed signs are kind of steamrollers. They just, if they set their sights on something, they just kind of persist. They're very persistent. So that, to me, sometimes can be a form of resistance because it can indicate that the person is not willing to let things shake out in their own time. The Hangman for a person who's in a relationship can be that you feel this sense of, surrender is a good way of putting it. And it's funny because a lot of times people think that the word surrender means giving up. That's the furthest thing from the truth. It means letting go of resistance. Surrender means that you understand that you can't control everything. That is not giving up. You may still have things that you want to occur, but you realize you can't force anything and you can't control everything. So you're willing to just let go, and a lot of times that'll be when the thing that you want comes in. So if you're single and you're looking for a relationship, you're not trying to force things, and love can come in when you least expect it. And if you are in a troubled relationship, you realize you don't have to make a decision overnight. You can allow things to just be. The other day I was in a health food store wandering around, and with the current situation as it is, it's been kind of a roller coaster ride, I think, for all of us in one way or the other. And I was just having one of those days where I was just kind of like, oof. And all of a sudden, on the loudspeaker, Let It Be came on. And it was so right on time because it was really, that is about the Hangman. Let it be. I think I just found my title. That's awesome. And that means that you are at peace with what is. There's a really interesting book by a modern spiritual teacher named Byron Katie. I'm sure some of you know who she is. And it's called Loving What Is. And I think that she's influenced by Buddhism. I'm pretty sure that that is a big influence on her life. And that is kind of what the Buddhist philosophy is, because it's like, you know, Zen Buddhism. Another great book is Zen Flesh, Zen Bones. That's one that's also very funny to me. But the idea of being okay with whatever is in the moment. I think Eckhart Tolle is influenced by Buddhism too, and or maybe like completely influenced by Buddhism. But this is the only real moment that we have, the present moment. We don't know what's happening in the future. And so the more that we can just let go and let God, that's what this card represents, the more that we can find a solution to whatever it is. Sometimes it just means letting go of resistance, and then everything starts to flow more easily, including love coming into your life, or if you're having a problem in your relationship, and you've been trying to force the issue, maybe you've been fighting about it. Maybe that's what that 5 of Wands is about. Letting go, saying, you know what, this person, maybe they want to fight, but I'm just going to observe. I'm not going to add fuel to the fire. And then see what happens. See if things change. When you change, everything changes. But sometimes change means not doing a darn thing. So, in any case, Leo, I hope that you receive something from this. And if you'd like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.